Welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast. This is going to be a review for Alien Covenant. It's directed by Ridley Scott. It's written by Jack Packlin, Michael Green, John Logan, and Dante Harper. Why it takes 4 people to write this movie, I'm not sure. It stars Michael Fassbender as Walter, Catherine Waterston as Daniels, Billy Crudup as Orem, and Danny McBride as Tennessee. The synopsis is: the crew of a colony ship bound for a remote planet discovered an uncharted paradise with a threat beyond their imagination and must attempt a harrowing escape. It starts with a cold open with an interview in a stark white room. Weyland from Weyland-Yutani, which is one of the companies in Aliens, has created an android played by Michael Fassbender. They're having a conversation about children and the purpose of life. The android names himself David. There's a late title card. It then shows a ship called the Covenant. They are a colonization ship. All of the crew and colonists are in cryogenic sleep on their way to Orgai 6. It's the planet that supports life. They have an android named Walter, who is also played by Michael Fassbender. The ship encounters an ion storm. Walter wakes the crew. One of the crew members can't be removed from his pod, and he dies in the fire. Consequently, that is James Franco for some reason. The new captain asks him not to spend time grieving. But before going back to cryosleep and after repairing the ship, they receive a rogue transmission. They trace the transmission. It's coming from a distant planet that appears that it can support life. The lead character tries to convince the captain to stay on course. He refuses her request, and they deviate to the new planet. So there's no spoilers for this, and we're going to go to Keith. What are your impressions of Alien Covenant?
It was not a good movie. The only improvement it had over Prometheus, and even grading it on its own merits, was that out of the entire crew that did anything, there was only one person who had any kind of or 2 people that had any kind of problem solving or fact-based reasoning skills. Everyone else was a pack of idiots. These 2 people were the only ones who actually showed some forethought and some knowledge, and consequently, they were our 2 leads.
So let's go to Jay.
I agree with Keith to a certain extent. This was not a good movie. There were a lot of things that was done that was probably the most idiotic thing you could do, but unfortunately, this has become a staple in these movies. I enjoyed certain things of it. I do believe it is better than Prometheus because I did stay awake for this and I was more engaged in this, but that's not really saying much. I like some of the visuals, but outside of that, didn't really do anything for me at all.
All right, Matt.
It was a tolerable movie, predictable movie in my opinion. I felt that the movie was 2 parts. The first part was slow, and then after started picking up. And believe it or not, I think it sets itself up well for part 3, although it's all going to be predictable again. It continues the same course that it did. Definitely liked it better than Prometheus.
So I have Tyrone's comments. Tyrone's overall impressions are that he liked the movie, he thought it was okay. It wasn't terrible, nor did it break any new ground. The effects and visuals were good, and the plot was plausible. Although the idea of a power surge damaging the ship, causing the crew to wake up early, is pretty similar to Passengers, but it works in the context of the movie. Some additional thoughts. One of its positives is that the action and suspense was good. It kept them entertained and interested for what could happen next. And then there's a list of negatives. The movie was predictable. You knew what was going to happen before it happened. As Keith and James stated, the characters were stupid at times, exploring a new planet without exercising any safety precautions, but you have no idea of what bacteria or microorganisms might be out there. Bathing and drinking in water on a distant planet, trusting one of the characters so easily, and then he has some issues with the end of the movie. So for me, the happenstance that set things in motion was okay, and everything was average leading up to the new planet, which is maybe the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mishmash of Aliens 1 and Star Trek The Next Generation, where Data and Lore have episodes dealing with the Borg. Do you agree, Keith?
Okay, I know what you're talking about. And yes.
All right.
Yes, yeah.
So in Aliens 1, you have the Nostromo is being diverted to a desolate planet after receiving a cryptic signal. Same thing happens in this movie. The Elizabeth Shaw angle is very unfulfilling.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Yes, you can.
Like, her death and painful death was something I wished for while watching Prometheus. So the fact that that we get glimpses of what possibly could have happened to, that was probably the only thing that kept this thing from being a 0.
All right,
So
Damn.
you can go ahead, proceed.
hold on.
Really, Keith?
All right.
Really?
I told you that before we started recording. So there was a weird scene with Michael Fassbender cutting his hair to music, which I could not describe, and it was just very eerie and stupid. I still don't understand the opening scene of Prometheus in the context of this movie. And if someone can explain that to me, please do. The whole movie is about daddy issues. The opening of the movie was a video game cutscene. There's no mask going down to an unknown planet, and that's completely silly.
Mm-hmm.
Having a smoke break on a distant planet could destroy the ecosystem. It felt pretty aimless at times, and some of the characters' actions didn't make sense. Again, with what Tyrone said later on in the movie, why would you trust one of the characters? It just seems silly. So I have some questions. The first question is, if you've seen Prometheus, which one is better or worse, and why?
I think Prometheus is better because Prometheus, I don't want to say unintentionally, but it subtly linked itself to the aliens mythos.
All right, Jay.
As of right now, at this moment, I would say that Covenant is better than Prometheus. I actually was entertained slightly when things started popping off, but then the only thing that was a great negative for me is something that Matt said. It took a while. It took a while to get to the meat and potatoes of the movie for me. I would say the Covenant is better than Prometheus.
Matt.
Covenant was a lot better than Prometheus. At least the action part was. The first part of Covenant started off slow, just to pick up a little bit later. Connection with the characters, I think they just appeared more human in Covenant, although they made dumbass mistakes for whatever year that was. You would think that at least common sense would have come around, but no, it had no common sense. This movie seemed more horror than sci-fi, in my opinion, following the common themes of what people do. The people you expect to die do certain things in the movie. So I like Covenant more so than Prometheus.
Tyrone's view on this is Prometheus was better. It was something new. It raised and answered questions. While Alien Covenant continues the story that began with Prometheus, it tries to link back to the originals, but he still thinks that Prometheus was better. And I'm going to say that Alien Covenant is better. Prometheus has a lot of issues with direction and also issues with character motivations, and it just can't be redeemed. Let's go on to the next question. What do you think that Alien Covenant contributes to the overall Aliens franchise, Keith?
I think it actually did do its job well in that regards. It contributed quite a bit. Namely, you understood why that alien species seemed to be perfectly adapted to take out humans. And it's kind of strange that face hugger was perfectly fitted to attach itself to a human face. You find out that how they came to be. I think it definitely sets it up. You know that the impact of it is those kind of moments, those MacGuffin moments in the previous movies, like, how the heck are we just finding these things? And you just stumble upon this life form that perfectly suitable to take out humans. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in this case, you understand why that happened, and you kind of understand that how the other things, and it really does, like Matt said, it does set up some interesting things that can happen in the future.
All right, James, same question.
I think it's a good addition. It kind of just carries on the story from Prometheus. It's good in the sequence of how things are going to end up from what we already know, so I can understand why it's there and it makes sense.
Matt, same question.
I thought it was a great addition to the Aliens franchise. Of course, the original Aliens series set the bar high. Prometheus kind of brought it back down. As far as a lead-in to the next movie, I thought it was pretty good. I'll give it that much. And I actually look forward to part 3.
Tyrone says that I believe there's one or maybe 2 more movies being made, and they are supposed to link back to the originals. So
I thought it was trilogy.
This one, I believe so.
I thought so too.
But I want to say at some point I thought it was supposed to be like 5 movies.
Oh.
But for me, I would just say that this movie, in the context of Alien and Aliens, where those 2 were good movies, that this one just seems like it's non-canon to me. Anything that happens in Prometheus and anything that happens in this movie is no different than an offshoot of a comic book. It's just that here's an alternate version of events. And that's kind of what I think of with...
Like another timeline or something?
Yeah. Let's try to wrap this up. We're going to go to the scores, and we're going to start with Keith. What is your score?
As I was watching, I gave the score like a -12, but after I finished watching it, I realized that people died and the pain that they experienced for their stupidity.
Damn, here we go. Here we
meted
go.
out appropriately. I didn't think it was as bad as Prometheus. So I give Prometheus a 5, and I'll give this one a 4.5. It looked good. It was a good looking film.
Did we see Prometheus together, Keith? I could have swore you came out of that just enraged.
Yeah, I fucking hate that movie. Like Prometheus, I was like, it was just stupid people. But like I said, they think about it, they died. I walked out of that film, Prometheus, like this fucking movie made me want to punch somebody in the face. I thought Prometheus was a better film than was slightly better than this movie.
Okay,
all right,
continue.
And basically, it was a good looking film, decent action. I like the connections that they threw to other Ridley Scott films. And honestly enough, I'll probably watch the next film, or at least watch the trailer for the next film that comes out. I can't abide dumb people doing dumb stuff. And some dude just looking face first without a helmet on an alien planet into a egg.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for, are they going to have helmets as soon as they get off the ship?
And like literally being egged on by a damn iPhone with legs, saying, go ahead, look at it. If the iPhone told you,
Keith,
Siri started speaking, said, stick your hand in the timing belt while the engine was running,
Keith.
would you do it?
All right.
Who the fuck does that?
All right.
Keith.
Hold on.
Keith.
What's up?
Go in the corner, man. Calm down.
I'm fucking perfectly calm, man. I'm just saying, like,
Keith,
I had to
I'm about to cut you off, yo. I'm about to cut you off, man.
All right, man. All right, I'm done. You understand? 4 out of 5. Good looking film. That's nice.
All right,
Yeah.
Jay.
Okay, I like this movie. It's okay. There were times that people pissed me off doing stupid shit. I agree with Keith 100%. I am intrigued on where they're going to go with it next, so I will probably watch the next one. I give this movie a 5. It took a while for it to get to the juicy parts, but when it got there, I was intrigued. But yet, still, it was very predictable too. So I give it a 5.
All right, Matt.
I'll go with 6.5. The last half of the movie was the most redeeming part. To be part 2 of the prequels, I thought it would have picked up a lot quicker than it did. Normally in the first prequel, the build up. And then it's like the last part is when it starts getting good. Part 2, again, tale of two halves. 6.5. I think it sets itself up well for part 3. Looking forward for the next iteration of Aliens.
Tyrone's score is a 6. It continues the Prometheus storyline and answers a lot of questions that were raised in that movie. So for me, I would give Prometheus a 2.5. So this movie is better than Prometheus. So I'm going to give that a 5, an additional 2.5 on top of what Prometheus was. It does some things a little bit better than Prometheus, but the movie goes downhill towards the end. And particularly with a lot of the later Michael Fassbender scenes, that there's something that happens towards the end of the movie that I'm not sure if it was an editing issue. I'm not sure if they were expecting for the audience to actually not put 2 and 2 together, but that ruins the movie. And that's the Beast Game Podcast. You can find more of our podcasts at beastgame.com, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Twitter, and YouTube.